Right, so I think you can already see the speed in which you can texture the actual model, as long as a little bit of preliminary work's been done inside of the 3D application, such as setting out the UV maps and assigning materials so that you can quickly change the materials within KeyShot and apply them to the model. Now there's certain things we haven't looked at. We haven't looked at this little light here that we created. So let's just go and have a look at that. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to change this material type, and we're going to change it into a little glass piece like this, and I'm just going to make that glass type a blue, a nice kind of bluey colour, something like that. It's quite nice. Okay. Now at the moment there is no lighting. Now we could use emissive, we could change this type to emissive, but it's just too bright, it's too flat and too bright, when it's kind of just flat really. So that's why I've picked this glass type, because it can actually go in and we can do something a little bit special here. So what I've got is underneath my scene, I've got the actual piece selected here, like you can see. But if I just go over it, let me just expand this. If I right hand click, what I can actually do is I can actually duplicate the piece. So I'm going to do that, I'm going to duplicate it. Now we've got two over the top of each other. I'm going to turn one off just so that I've got one visible here. And I'm just going to double click on it here. I'm sorry, like this. Let me just click off again and just click the piece. Let's go in here again. Okay, right, and go into position, and I'm going to go into the move tool. What I want to do here is I just want to bring this down in size and push it a little bit into the model. So I'm just going to sort of bring this down. What we're going to do is create this as its own little light source. So I'm bringing it down in size. I'm just going to push it a little bit into the model now. Okay, I'm going to come up here now to lights, and I'm just going to flick over to something like the emissive light. Just going to click OK because I finished with the transform there, so I'm going to leave that. So I'm just going to go to this emissive light, and I'm just going to drag it on top of this one. Actually, that's not going to do. Let's have a look at this one. That's not too bad. I'll plonk that in there. And now I can turn this one back on. You've got this kind of little light source going on. I'm going to turn it off because I'm actually going to make it this. And I'm going to just double click on it so it'll give us our options. I'm just going to turn this down, turn it up, and then just go into here and just change the colour to a kind of blue. Something like that should do it. We can come back into the scene now and just flick this on. Okay, and now I'm going to zoom out. And now we've got a little light. It's probably a little bit too small. I need to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to just select the piece, go to the move tool, and just maybe just make it a little bit bigger. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, click OK. And I'll just double click this. You can turn these off as well, visible in reflections and visible in shadow. But I'm going to leave it on. Don't make this. I'm going to colour down a little bit. Okay. And turn it on. It's very small light, so we come out a little bit. And now you've got a light source in there. Okay. Now if you want, you can do the same with this one. I think this one's actually quite good. But let's come into here. Let's find it. Let's just double click here, come into the scene, have a look. It should be under the plug. There it is there. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to just change this material type to a glass. Let's just make this a bluey colour, something like something like that, or you can change it to a gem. Sometimes that works better than glass, but I'll leave it on this for now and change it to this blue. Click OK, come back in the scene. Now I want to right hand click and duplicate it, and it will put it in a little group. I'll turn one of these off, just come into this, and I want to make this an emissive, so I'm just going to plonk that in there and go to my move tool, and I'm just going to scale it down very slightly, something like that. I'm going to go into the material now for this. Just click OK to accept this as the light source, and I'm just going to probably change this light to a bluey colour. Click OK, come back, and now I can turn this one back on, and we've got a little light source happening there. So yeah, that looks quite good. Now I had another piece that was on the side, which is here, and I just basically made this a glass piece as a kind of gel, and then I repeated the process, and I just put this kind of light source in there. So something like that will do. Okay, so that's how I did that kind of light source there. Now our model. Right, now there's certain things about this I don't like. This is too matte, this plastic, so I'm going to change it. But it looks a bit flat, and that's basically because our environment that we're using is just the standard environment. It's just this standard HDRI. It's actually under here, under Studio, inside of Environment tab here. If you haven't got this available, just make sure that you're in the libraries and you've got this flicked open, and you'll have access to Studio then. So you can go into Basic, and the one we've got selected is this startup one, which is that. So you could come in and just change these around. You'll notice that it will change up here in the environment as we sort of flick through them. But to get real good color shadows on this, what I want to do is I actually want to use an actual environment. So I've got some interior environments here. If we go and grab this office one and drag it in there, now you really pick up all the reflection that you've got in this metallic piece and in here. Yeah, now of course we can turn the color backplate on there, but for now I'll leave the environment on just so we can see what's happening, because the problem I've got is this plastic is just not very reflectant. So I want to basically come in here, just going to double click it, and I want to make it more of a reflectant. So I probably have to change material. So I'm going to go down and I'm just going to select the paint here, see if it gives me a better options. Not really. If I choose the metal, that's quite reflectant, and we should be able to sort of add roughness in here, so we can sort of push it back a little bit and get more of a kind of reflectant look. Could also change the color a little bit as well if I wanted to. Let's have a look at that. It's kind of a metal, but it's quite nice. But what I like to use is the actual metallic paint. Now the reason I like the metallic paint is there's a lot of controls in here. So if I want this to become a white colour, I'll just pick this base as a kind of just off-white, and I'll pick this as a white as well. And this will actually put flake sizes and stuff. So if I take the roughness down, if you look at the preview, it gives us something that's a little bit better. You know, I can whack up the colour there. But I can also come down and take some of this coating. I can make the coating rougher. So I've got a lot more dials to play with. I've also got things like metal flake size, if I was to put some metal flake in here, and some samples with that. But I'll probably keep it pretty much like some samples. Yeah, let's just put some samples in there to get this back. And yeah, I like that. So that's quite nice, and that's a shiny plastic. I'm going to name this as my plastic main. Oh. Plastic main. So then it's been labelled in here, so it means I can drag it across. So I can drag all my main plastic across to the actual piece now, and I like that better. Of course, now I can go in and make a global change, and it will affect all these pieces at the same time. So what I'm going to do is have a little play around and see something that I like. You know, the more I look, the more I actually like this silver, but it'll just look too silver then. So I think for the sake of this, we have a look at this. You can see it's this anodized grey, which maybe I can use on this piece. Yeah, it's just two. So I need to unlink this material now across here. So I'm just going to right hand click and just put this across here. I just want to see what it looks like. Just a little bit different, you know, just a little bit of an image breakup there. And this, I think I'm going to use this colour. I'm going to just unlink it, and I think I'm going to put this into a metal as well. So yeah. That looks quite nice. Okay, so I'm happy with my model. I think you've got enough of an idea to know what we're kind of trying to achieve here and how quick it is to do it. So now the last thing I need to do is just come into the environment and just change this backplate. Now if we're happy with this HDRI, then you can keep it, but we're going to change the map. Now we're finished with the model, we're going to play with the map in the background. Okay, so we'll be changing, in the next lesson we'll be changing this HDRI map for something that's going to be a little bit better for this particular model. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to go through the built-in HDR maps and see if you like one of them. Also, you can see that I can actually import an HDR map over here on the Environments tab, which again you can get to by going to Project and Environments. You have the option here of a little box which you can check, and you can actually go and grab an HDRI file as long as you've got them on your desktop. So you can add new ones if you wanted to. Now I'm going to grab this one here, Japan Subway, and I'm just going to open that up. You'll see it'll appear here. It's applied it. Now it is a spherical map, so unlike these it doesn't go all the way around. So you might have to, you could only set it on one certain angle, like you've got this horrible line here where you can see it there. So like for this one for instance, I would probably rotate this around or make the size bigger or smaller to try to get rid of that, you know, if I was going to use this one. And it actually looks quite good in that position, but when I move into other positions I get these funny things going on. So in this case I'm going to use a map that actually comes with this program, and I'm not sure which one yet. Maybe this one, it's quite good, or actually I quite like this office one, so I'm going to use this office one. Yeah, again you can play around with the size here, rotation and stuff. Quite like that as a view, it's quite good. So what you can also do is these reflections are quite sharp, so you can actually go and edit the HDRI, and inside here it will give you the actual image. And what you can do is you can blur it. So I can blur that image down in here. I could change the hue and the saturation, and I could obviously tilt it and I can rotate it. And once you're happy that that's blurred, I'm just going to close that, and you'll see that it's blurred on the preview, but it looks a lot better now. So if I go into my background area here. I can just put the color plate back in, and now the model looks good pretty much from all positions. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that as a render. The thing is, this would probably be my render, and I can't see the plug. So what I can do is I can just zoom up here. I can grab the plug. Let me just close this up and select this top plug. Remember, everything's underneath that. And then I can use the move tool just to kind of try and move this around a little bit. I'll just move it over here just so that it's a bit more visible. And then I'll just snap it to the ground because it might have risen up slightly, and click OK. Now that's in a better position. I might also want to rotate it as well, so let's just go in and rotate it as well. So I'm just going to get this, and hopefully go. It doesn't like that. It looks like it's distorting it. Something funny's going on there. Just go back. Probably do a rotation here. Something like that. Snap to ground. Okay, that's a better angle. Yeah. So you can rotate it via the manual controls. You don't always have to use the other control. So once you've got a good position and you've got a correct HDRI, and so remember that you can pick HDRI maps from here as well as from any of the environment controls hidden here, and you can also edit them in here. Now a lot of people just stick with this basic studio light setups, which is all very good, but it's good to actually change and use the full power of KeyShot by actually using colored HDRIs and going in and manipulating them. Okay, so we've got a nice shot now of our headphones. So now we need to just render it out and set the sizes. So we'll be doing that in the next lesson, and I'll be showing you about the cameras.